it's Tara here from AustralianCamels.com. In today's video we're talking about camel spiders. Now when you think of camel spider you probably think of that big spider image that you get on the Google images. But that is not quite what we're talking about today. A camel spider in the camel training and handling world is one of these, which is basically a camel harness. What we'll be sharing with you today is the 3 uses on why you should be using a camel spider. Number 1 is why you should have a camel spider if you've got more than one camel. Number 2 is how a camel spider can actually help you train your camels. And number 3 is helping the camel get used to either saddling or packing for the first time with the use of a camel spider. We'll also be showing you how to harness up a camel with a camel spider. So let's get to it. So obviously to get started you need a camel spider. Now if you want to learn how to make your own, which is really the only way to get hold of a camel spider for yourself unless you know of somebody who already makes these types of harnesses, you can actually DIY it. We've got a tutorial over at our website in our camel shop, so make sure you have a look if you want to get started on a project like this and using a camel spider. So firstly I have to say that there is a wrong and right way about the directions of which way a camel spider goes. Obviously it's got buckles at one end, at 2 ends, sorry, so that acts as a girth, and then you've sort of got the back girth here as well. So important thing to notice that once you've made your own or you've got someone to make one for you is I'll get a little bit closer, the rivets. So you've got rivets on the outside like that, and then if you flip it over, the rivets here are really soft. This is what needs to go against the camel's body, okay? So we're not putting any abrasion near the skin or anything like that. Okay, so I'll hold it the right way. So the actual girth buckles need to drape down the right side of the camel. There's 2 there. And then the girth straps or tongues need to hang down the left side of the camel. So the way to tell which is front and back, because it all kind of looks the same, is the shorter buckle, which would be on the right hand side of the camel, goes to the back of the camel, because that's obviously the back girth, which is naturally shorter, and the longer one goes to the front. Okay, let's try it on. Hey Coco. So being buckles, we don't really want to throw it over because we don't want to risk hitting the camel. So there goes my buckles. And you can see that I've got the tongues here and the buckles are on the other side. Okay, so now we're on the right hand side of the camel, and as I stated before, here is the longer buckle, which is the main girth, and here is the shorter buckle, which is the shorter girth. So we just want to tuck that under his belly so that we can join it up with the other side. Okay. Now we're just going to do the main one first. And then the second one. So another way to do up the girth is to get the camel to stand up. So if your camel is used to you and desensitized, obviously that's safe, but if not, then we highly recommend doing it underneath the camel, putting the girth through while they're sitting down. It's a bit safer for you and for the camel. Okay Coco, up we get, up, up. So I've got the rope over my arm here so that if he tries to walk away, obviously I've still got some sort of control, but I'm not wrapping it because that would be taking my arm off if he did decide to go somewhere. And we do up the main one first. Making sure your hand's behind there so that you're not pinching any skin. And the back one. And that's how you put on a spider.
Are you a new camel learner, or are you considering owning camels? Look no further for an alternative, gentle camel training method. Forget all the heavy-handed and dominance-based camel training styles. We'll show you another way. Get camel confident with your camel handling and training skills. Get our free camel training videos and ebook over at australiancamels.com.
Hi, Russell here from australiancamels.com, and today I'm going to show you the effectiveness of using the Camel Spider on the camels and getting a string of camels working together. There's a very good reason why we should use a Camel Spider when you've got more than one camel. And basically it's for effective control of the animal. It's also training the camels to walk safely in a string or a caravan. Using a spider also practices. It's sort of the first step before putting on a saddle. So the camel gets used to feeling the girth straps and gets used to some good quality handling. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and lined up my camels along the rails. They're all tied up there. And what I've done is I've done something very clever. That is that I've got the last camel first. And this is the safest and the best way of doing things. Now of course there's a couple of ways of doing it. There's a standing up method like this, where they're all tied up against the rail, but also sitting down. And I'll show you both. So let's get into it. This is the stand up method. So Sahid here, I'm going to have him as the last camel. So he doesn't need a spider. All right, there's no camel behind him. So that's where he's at. So I'll untie him from the rail. Hey big boy, back up, back up, good boy. So I've made sure that I'm at a safe distance, all right, from his front legs. Even though he's an exceptionally trained camel, and I fully trust him. But always have that protocol. So I'll undo my bowline from the rail and gather up my rope. Stand up. And I can manoeuvre this animal quite comfortably by backing him up. Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. There we go. So he's now at the back of the second last camel, Coco. So I get my rope. Now I let this second back camel know where I'm at. Of course you're going to be operating in the zone where he could kick, and this is why all that preparation, all that work that you've done with your camels over a period of time plays in action here, so that the camel trusts you. Okay, I put my rope through the carabiner, which is attached to the 2-inch ring on the back there of the spider, and pull that rope through. I'm going to have it a fairly short rope to start with, okay? Goes through the ring on the front, over the camel's neck, and you do a bowline right there. Now, there is a reason why you do it there, and that is that if you don't do it there and you put it up here in the front, the shoulder, if the camel behind pulls, it's going to hurt that camel because it'll be pulling just in here, but here it's not pulling on his shoulder there. Okay, so I've got him ready to walk nicely, and the reason why the spider is so effective is because the camel is attached at the back of this now in front camel. Instead of having just simply him tied, neck tied, and then straight to his halter, he could come forward quite happily. And of course when a camel comes forward, then you're starting to lose control. If anything, this rope's just a little bit too long to start with. Like with a young camel, I'd have it quite shortened, like so. But so long enough so that he could walk at the back of the camel, but not long enough so that he could come forward. Alright, so just for argument's sake, I'm going to shorten that a little bit. With these highly trained camels, they're used to all this. They're quite fine with it all. There's my bowline. I've got a quick release on that, but don't have to be. Just gathers up some of that rope. So now Camel, this one here, Coco, is now the lead camel of my small string of 2 camels. Alright, so I'm going to now attach Coco to Yuko. So we'll have a 3 camel string. You can see the reason why I've put the camels in order, from the back camel being the first one to deal with, the second back camel, third back camel, and finally the front or the lead camel. So I can back Coco up and bring him around to the rear of Yuko, way up there, and I repeat that process, making sure Yuko knows exactly where I'm at, and he does. Attach Coco to Yuko, through the carabiner, through the ring. You could use 2 carabiners, but seriously, it's not really that necessary. Over the neck, and do your bowline on the side of the camel's leg. Like so. Okay. And now I'll attach Yuko to the lead camel. Back up, matey. Back up. Back up. Back up. Back. Always compliment your camels if they've done the right thing. Now, our carabiner on the saddle is at the back of the saddle there. So I put the rope through the carabiner, behind the stirrup, behind the main girth and the stirrup. So there's our connection point, if you like. Over the neck, and I tie my knot. Bowline at the side of the camel's leg. Now, in saying all this, rope lengths are really, really vital. Okay, I can't stress this enough. If you've got young camels that you're wanting to put into string using the Camel Spider, have the rope short to start with. Okay, you can see here, now if these two are 2 young camels, he can't come forward all that much, probably to about here. Once they get past the shoulder, that's when this camel will start to panic and think that something's wrong, and he'll start to move forward. And so a domino effect, and you're up here leading the camel, and they're all moving up on top of you and can run over the top of you. That's why these rope lengths are critical. I can't stress this enough. Okay. However, with trained camels, good camels that trust you, you've worked them well, you've worked them over a period of time, they know what's going on. You have the rope length just enough so that the camel can come down, and as you're walking, take a little nibble of some grass or herbs or things like that on the ground. And you can see that this length here, from the saddle to here, to there, to his mouth, he'd be able to reach the ground just barely, but he can't get past the shoulder. Okay, that is so important. I can't stress it enough. So I'll show you now how this works, and I'll show you effective methods of actually working this string of camels using the camel spiders. So now I'm going to show you how to effectively use the camel spiders with the string of camels. Now, getting back to having younger camels, okay, for the first time, you can expect them to jump and carry on a little bit. Alright, if you've got a good experienced camel in the front, then you've got a camel that you've worked with, who knows you, who trusts you. You've been through all the procedures of trust-based training, and this camel knows you and trusts you. And you might notice that I've put a nose line on the lead camel here. Alright, the reason being, if you've got this young string of camels behind, you want to be able to grab your camel, pulling on the neck rope more than anything, and hold it down, but you've also got his nose. Now there's not much pressure on the nose. You can see that his head's down, it's just a little bit, and that's how you train them with their nose line. Just with a little bit of pressure, not much, but mainly on the halter, pulling on the halter down, on the bridge of the nose, and or the back of the neck rope here on the back. Alright, so we are advocates of nose line for your lead camel of your string, especially if you're operating commercially. Alright, if you're not operating commercially, look, it's a personal choice, of course, but let me say this, that if you're walking your camels, especially along a country road or a country lane, and a car comes along, and you lose control of that camel because it doesn't have that nose line, and all your camels go out in front of that car and a disaster happens, you're at fault. Alright, so it's in some ways protecting you, it's protecting the camels, and it's protecting the rest of the people in your neighbourhood as well. It's just something that I've always been thinking of. So, walking your camels, the reason why we have them all attached on the left hand side is because you always work on the left hand side of the animal. Alright, all the girth straps are done up on the left hand side. Okay, all the action as far as saddling goes. And saddling includes camel spiders. So they're all on the left hand side, which means that a safe way of manoeuvring your camels, okay, is to do circles to the right. If you did your circles to the left, they're only going to bunch up. Okay, but if you do them to the right, of course, being attached onto the left hand side, they're going to stretch out into that nice string. Let me show you. I'm going to the right, and you'll see how they stretch out. That's cool. Now, Yuko has moved on to the right hand side. That's okay. Alright, here's the second camel. I'll do another circle till he gets it right. He's far enough back now, as you can see, and I'll come around behind you and we get a good view of the camels now stretched out in string. Slow down big boy. I'll come straight for you now. You can see how effective that is. Okay, so you saw with turning to the right how they stretched out, and that's what you're after, so that they're walking in a straight line or relatively straight. Some camels like to step to the side and walk to the side, whether it be the right hand side or the left hand side of the camel in front. Look, that's very usual, very typical of some camels, and after kilometres and kilometres and kilometres of practice and, you know, tracking and all that sort of stuff, they do learn, you know, that there is a happy medium in the middle. Okay, so don't panic too much about that. Alright, but I'm going to show you now what happens when you turn to the left. Alright, remember that they're all attached on the left hand side of each animal. Okay, so they're actually going to bunch up here, and it's just going to get a bit messy. Fortunately, these are very well trained camels and they'll accept it. But with young camels, it could turn into a real disaster for you. Right, so if you've got young camels and you're trying this for the first time, go to the right. Okay, stretch your camels out nice and slowly and gently so that they can stretch out, and then you can continue walking. Okay, now if you've got trained camels, you can do this, but I just want to show this for effect's sake. Come on, Randy. See, they're bunching up. Okay, now if they were young camels, that could really turn into a mess. Okay, look, they're all bunched up there. Saeed bunched up there. Okay, so you can see how that doesn't quite work, but I'll go right now and straighten them out. See how Saeed waited? Okay, he waited until he was in position for the string. Okay, the back camel. So now I've got my string of camels in a row again by going to the right. Keeps you safe, and it also keeps the animals safe. It's good practice, it's good training to have your animals in control at all times, as much as you can. Alright, so I might take these animals for a walk down the road a little bit. They'll enjoy that. So, when you're walking your camels in string for the first time, or any time really, you begin really slowly. Slow down. Okay. Just get them used to things. Even these trained camels, they haven't been outside here for a while. They've been on the beach and other places certainly, but not out here where there's some good bush tucker around. You can see they're trying to reach for the tucker. So take it easy, just nice and slowly and steadily, no surprises. Alright, just nice and slow, get them used to things, get the jitters out, so to speak. And that way then, you're keeping yourself safe, your animals are in control, and you're using these spiders effectively. So one thing that you need to be cautious of when taking your camels for a walk, especially for the first time using spiders or saddles or anything in string, is if you lived in a wooded area like we do, stand up, you've got to be cautious of the trees. Camels will learn that they've got to go ahead and avoid these trees and stay to the left hand side of these trees and that sort of thing, or to the right. Depends on how long your rope is. But expect that your camels could get caught when all the camels are going one way and one's trying to go the other way. Alright, so you've got to be mindful of that because your camels can get hurt. So take it very slowly, very easily. Might not be a tree, it could be a street sign, or you know, you think of the reasons. but you do have to be very cautious of that. Slowly over a period of time, your camels will learn and won't get caught, and they'll be quite fine. If they do get caught, stop. Stop immediately. Slowly and calmly sort the situation out so that that camel that is caught can free itself. You might need to back your camel up. Back up, back up, back up, back up, and back up the whole string. Okay? The camel in front of the camel that's caught may pull on that camel, and it could be all noise and hullabaloo. Whatever you do, don't panic, and make sure, especially if you're doing this for the first time, but actually any time really, that you're always carrying a pocket knife. I've got mine in my back pocket. Okay, even though these are trained camels, still got my knife. Way up there, boys. Way up there. Okay, so we've been for our little walk. The camels have enjoyed some bush tucker, and it's been all very pleasant. Okay, that time that you spend with your camel in showing them that you're actually a really nice person, you love being with them, you like to have them eating different foods, well, you know, it pays dividends hugely. But what I'm going to show you now is how to untie your camels that are spidered up safely. Of course, there's always two ways. One way is the stand-up method, which I'll use right now, and the other way, of course, is the sit-down method, which I'll show you later. So, what I'm going to do first here is, there's our rails just in front of us. So I'm going to actually do a right-hand wheel, right, turning to the right. So I stretch those camels out, and that first camel, Taggles here, will be the first one to tie, and I'll show you why I'm doing this. Okay, there is a safety factor attached to this. You don't want the camels bunching up while you're doing any of this sort of stuff. So here we go. There we go. Good camels. All right, way up there. Okay, so I've stopped at the rail. This is an absolute ideal location. The sun is directly in front here, directly facing north, and the camel's facing to the sun. Remember, they're sun worshippers. Okay, so I make sure I get my nose line, and I hitch that onto the halter here, so it's well out of the way. He's not going to step on it. Okay, that's really important. Alright, so I've tied the lead camel using a bowline. They're facing north. Now it's absolutely ideal, and this is where the difference between a good camel ear and a superior camel ear, for want of a better word, okay, really comes into play. Because the superior camel ear, the one that really knows what they're doing, is thinking like a camel, thinking all the time what is best for these animals. Alright, that's the big difference between just a good camel ear and one who really knows what they're doing. Is they're thinking as if they are the camel themselves. What do the camels like? Okay, so they're facing towards the sun. That's the point there. Okay, so you can see that the camels, if I hadn't have faced them to the sun, today being a nice sunny day, and I had have had them to the side, they would have been all over the shop, okay, because they would have shuffled themselves quite happily to face the sun. But because I've done that, they're in a nice straight line. So now I've got my opportunity of unhitching the second camel. I'm pulling the rope through and detaching, gathering it up and walking him past that first camel to the rail, so that he too, way up there, is facing the sun. And you can see that Coco, the third camel, he's actually still quite comfortable. He hasn't bunched up. Alright, he isn't shuffling, trying to face the sun. Let's unhitch Coco from Yuko. Alright, pull him through to his spot on the rail. Come on, Coco. And way up there, and you can see Sahid at the back, he's not shuffling trying to reach to face the sun either. And last camel, old Sahid, pull him through. Hang on, sir. Alright, all that work has paid off. Alright, no lashing out, no kicking. Trust-based training works. There we go. That is how to safely undo your camels when hitched using the Camel Spider. Good boy. It's Camelman jungle juice. That's definitely the drink that you need to be mad enough to go out into the desert with a bunch of animals.
Yeah? You never had it?
Nice and cold. No. That's why I am the way I am.
What, mad?
Never got over it. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to show the sitting position of how to hitch your camels up using the spiders, but also we're going to use the saddle here on the front camel. Okay, as the front camel, if I'm going for a walk, okay, with a bunch of camels, especially newbies, I want to make sure that I've got a couple of bags that you know, I've got, you know, some communications in case if something happens, my lunch, and a first aid kit just in case. Okay, and of course other camel stuff too, you know, that's related. Okay, anyway, alright, so got my first camel sitting down. I'll get my second camel and bring him around and show you the method there. And way up there, position him. Hang on. And whoosh down, big boy, whoosh down. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Good boy, good boy. So there he is behind the first camel. Put the rope through the carabiner behind the girth, behind the saddles, and exactly the same way you guess how much rope you need, okay, for them to eat, or young camels to start with have a nice short rope like that so they can't jiggle around too much if they do go into a bucking session. And these camels are trained, so a little bit of rope over the neck of the first camel and tie a knot on that shoulder like I said. Okay, so I always bring the camels around nice distance so I can position them carefully behind each other and be able to do my work. Way up, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Now you might be practicing this a fair bit, especially with newbie camels. Alright, gentle, quiet persuasion, continuously until they do it. Reward them with "G'day, oh, good on you, mate, you know, well done," all those sorts of things. We don't use treats. Alright, we don't use treats, that way the camels don't expect them. And that's why they're not looking for them in your pocket when you go out into the paddock. Alright, we just praise them up. There we go. And you can see how you're starting to form your string. It's safe. The camels are sitting down. And if they do stand up, don't panic. Just reposition them, sit them back down, and repeat that process until they get it. Okay, if you're in this ideal location here where soft ground facing the sun, your chances of success are higher than if you're not facing the sun and there's a rocky ground or there's ants or something like that. So set yourself up for success. Choose your location, choose your direction. especially when training for the first time. Bring him around so he's facing the sun. Now Saeed, being the back camel, whoosh down big boy, whoosh down, whoosh down. He is the protector of the herd. That's his role, that's his job. And that's why you have the most experienced camel at the back. Okay, so now your training over many years begins of getting your string to stand up on command. And guess what? Even though these boys have done everything, they've literally done everything. They've walked across Australia, they've walked through the CBD of major cities, done all sorts of fetes, fairs, beach rides, you name it. Okay? They've still got their personality. It doesn't always work. But what I want them to do is to stand up all together. Because if you're doing an expedition, for example, or something like that, then you've got to be in control of your whole string. Remember, you are the alpha of this group. That doesn't mean to say be dominant, but you do have expectations. At the same time, the reason why you're gaining respect of these animals is because you think like them. Very important. Okay, so the way I get my camels up is I get my lead camel, get him ready, and then I call all the camels. Now if they don't all stand up, and Yuko is a classic at this, there is a way of getting him up, and that is to start walking to the side. Alright, let's see if the whole thing works to begin with. Camels ready! Up, 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 up! Up, 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 up! And Yuko has done the classic lazy camel. So I move and do a right hand wheel, and he knows straight away that he's got to stand up. Otherwise he's going to be pulled over. Okay? So that was a classic example of how the camels work. So I had that little call of up, 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 and camels ready, up, oh, or whatever you design for yourself. Way up there. So you finish walking your string of camels. You put your nose line, attach it to the neck rope. You hoosh this camel down, hoosh down, hoosh down, hoosh down, facing the sun. So that's nice soft ground. Then you go to your second camel, hoosh down, hoosh, hoosh down. Of course, if you've got young camels, okay, that process just then might take you an hour, maybe even 2. But whatever you do, if you start something, don't stop until you get what you want. Okay, think like the camel, give them all the chances of success. But whatever you do, don't stop. Okay, now there's a couple of reasons why having a spider, camel spider, as part of your camel equipment kit is imperative. Okay, I couldn't do without it myself. Alright, first thing is training young camels to walk in string. Okay, you want to be able to enjoy your camels. These guys here love what we do. Alright, it's taken years to get to this stage, but the dividends are there. And if you can't walk your camels in string together, you can only walk one camel at a time. And as we know, they're a herd animal, so they need each other. So to practice using a spider, it's minimum equipment, let's face it. Right? There's not much to a spider. The effectiveness of having a camel spider is that you can walk your camels, and safely. Right? That's number one. The second reason why a camel spider is an imperative part of your camel equipment is that it's a lead towards a saddle. Okay? A gentle step of getting the camel used to putting girths on, things on top, etc. Okay? So it's a gentle step towards saddling. And probably the last reason is you can actually go ahead and put small weights on a spider, but what I would do is I would put some padding underneath the spider strap across the back so that you're distributing the weight a bit more. Okay, I have seen it before where newbies to the game have had boxes of food and water and equipment attached to these rings and only had the strap here, where you can imagine the pain that that camel must have been under. Okay, so you got to think, okay, what's best for the camel? Okay, and that's why I say very light weights, you know, perhaps just a bag with, you know, a blanket in it or something like that. Okay, just to get some weight, but have that padding up here, the same sort of padding that we use with saddling.
Hey, did you get value from this video or have any questions for us? Head over to our Australian Camels blog to ask your questions or to leave a comment. While you're there, sign up to our email list so you never miss these types of videos, other camel related blogs, and also special announcements and information which we don't share anywhere else. Once you've signed up, you'll get access to our free camel training videos, information ebooks and MP3s. So head over to australiancamels.com now to get your goodies.